Why not? Do you
No,
have to wait for
wait,
something
don't.
specific?
No. Just kidding.
No, that's fine.
We have so much to talk about.
Yeah, I guess so.
Billionaires to hate.
Mm-hmm. That's true. I like that.
Okay, okay. I'm going to introduce right at the beginning of the show here. I have a brand new segment,
Mm.
and this segment is called New Billionaires to Hate.
I mean,
Ooh, I'm all for this.
that's pretty cool. I mean, every billionaire deserves your hate. Deserves everyone's hate in general, but
No,
new billionaires to talk about that we hate.
no, not every billionaire.
No, every billionaire, every single one of them.
What about that guy who paid off like $100 million worth of college debt at his?
Is he still a billionaire?
Yeah, and he's still giving money away.
Yeah, well, he's not giving it away fast enough. So
Not
fuck
giving
him.
away enough. Yeah. Yeah.
If you have $1 billion, you're a piece of shit. You have too much money. You should have given it all away.
What about
Period.
Bezos' ex-wife?
Yeah, she's doing pretty good, and we'll see
Yeah.
how we'll see. Yeah, she's doing okay.
She's giving away like three
Yeah.
quarters of a billion already.
And yes, $750 million. Yeah, and how much does she have?
I don't know.
Like 20 billion, 30 billion, $750
you
million
don't
is
want to
fucking
start
nothing.
throwing money around all loosey goosey. Like, what if she ended up giving it to someone who was like
Sure.
attached to
Yeah,
ISIS
sure,
somehow?
sure. Right. Yeah, yeah. So you got to vet who you're giving it to and everything. And since she is newly in control of all of that wealth, she gets a pass. But all these other people who have been billionaires for a long time, they don't get a pass. They've had plenty of time to vet all of the various charities and organizations and whatnot to see the best ones to give to. They don't have excuses. No fucking way.
I'm just challenging your assertion of all billionaires.
I know, and you're welcome to. And I'm sure most of our listeners disagree with me with my hard stance. But you guys know I don't do fucking mild opinions. I don't do mild stances. Fuck all billionaires. Period. You know, that's it. Anyways, Colin, sorry, you wanted to do a segment though.
I know. I haven't even gotten into it yet. You're already fired up. Like,
Yeah, well, that's what happens when Matt is fucking poking at me just a little bit. It's enough.
that's why we have him. Matt's the glue guy.
Yeah.
I'll take it.
All right. And so I want to clarify that in the future, whenever I have somebody to talk about in this segment, it doesn't necessarily mean that they are new to being a billionaire. They're just new in the sense that I just found out that they're billionaires and I want to talk about their story. And this particular story has everything. It has lies, it has greed, it has shady business, it has white privilege. It is an amazing story of another white male billionaire in America. Are either one of you familiar with the name David Geffen?
Oh yeah. Of course.
So David Geffen is about a $10.5 billion billionaire. That's what his net worth is. So, I mean, we're not talking Bezos money or anything like that. But David.
Oh,
Geffen,
sorry, not like 200 billion, just 10 billion. Oh yeah.
Wait,
Sorry.
wait. I accidentally knocked my headphone cord out again, and the sound cut off. Say that last sentence again.
I was just saying he's not Bezos in terms of the amount of money that.
Right, yeah,
that
only
has.
10 billion. Yeah, he's like a peon, right? Mm-hmm.
Anyway, do you guys want to know the story of how David Geffen became a billionaire?
Well, I know that Geffen Records is his thing, so I assume that he exploited musicians for many years.
Yeah, so he's actually the founder of Asylum. Is his original label, which is the late Jackson Brown. Was actually his first big signee.
Oh, no shit.
So it was Jackson Brown, Joni Mitchell, the Eagles, Linda Ronstadt.
He was doing all those California like folk rock.
Yep, exactly. So, but before we get to Asylum, David is, I forget exactly where he's from, tries to go to college, is probably a lazy white dude, doesn't get done with it. And the reason I say he was probably a lazy white dude is because he blamed him not finishing on college on his dyslexia. But I was like, that didn't stop you from becoming a billionaire. So
right.
Yeah, take it for what it is.
Yeah.
Anyway, the college piece is important because when he gets to California, he goes to work for let's say Capitol Records, and he wants to get into music management. He's a mailroom clerk. But in order to work for this company, he needs to have a college degree. And so they ask for his college transcript. And this is back in the 60s. It gets mailed. He intercepts it. And he forges it to say that and of course, he's a white male. He's the only person in the universe at that time that could have gotten away with something like that. And it just makes you even more sick thinking about it when you fast forward to, I'm skipping all around because there's a lot of bad things with David Geffen. You skip to today when he's a 10.8, 10.5 billionaire, and he's got numerous yachts. And apparently there's an award given out for the individual who pollutes the most in America. And he's either number 1 or number 2 because of all of his yachts out there.
Fucking piece of shit.
So yeah, that's what he does today. Yes, and he did some shady shit. So Asylum was supposed to be the record label to, like, support the artist, and God, don't we know how that shit just doesn't matter, because Major League Baseball, as we're going to get into here in a little while, they don't care about artists. They don't care about players. Management just wants money. Billionaires just want money. And so he sold Asylum Records in the mid 70s, I believe, to Warner Brothers. And the selling out's not the bad thing, but what he did is he took advantage of all those people that I just mentioned and their poor to little legal representation. And when he signed contracts with them, he had half of their publishing money, and then the band or the artist had the other half. So when Warner Brothers sold, he got half of everybody's money. And there's a whole story about this with the Eagles, because they got obviously wicked pissed about it. He gave Jackson Brown his money back because Jackson was like his number one guy and got him like all these other people like Joni and Linda and the Eagles and everything. So he was like, I felt like I owed Jackson that money. And of course the Eagles were like, well, that doesn't fucking make sense to me. Like, give me my money back too. He ended up doing so. Henley ends up signing with Geffen label, like what he ends up founding after he sold Asylum. They ended up having another thing like in the 80s when he was doing his solo work and whatnot. But I just couldn't believe that this guy, I had known the Geffen name from the label and just seeing it on the Don Henley albums that my parents had growing up. And it wasn't until Sunday when I was like looking into a little bit more who he is, because I keep seeing him pop up with like all these musicians that I like from the classic rock era. And I'm like, I just need to know a little bit more about him. And I find out that he's this billionaire who forged his way into the music management industry and now owns all these yachts and pollutes the world, and like is just probably one of the worst people on the planet. And I hate him. And I'm sure Ethan does, but that was my new segment. I just wanted to introduce that.
I don't like him either. Don't get me.
Oh yeah, but man, you're the glue guy, and like the glue guy has to keep things together. Ethan and I can go off the rails.
I'll take that bullet.
That's right. Yeah, no, yeah, he sounds like a typical piece of shit billionaire, and it's interesting because this is the classic thing with all of these rich people, right? So I knew about David Geffen partially because of just being known in, he was famous in the music industry. But more recently, he is famous because he paid for the renovation of, I think it was, what was it called beforehand? Alice Tully Hall or Avery Fisher Hall, whatever hall in New York City. It was Avery Fisher beforehand. It's where the New York Philharmonic plays at the Lincoln Center. So big deal, one of the most important concert halls in the country, right? And he paid for the recent renovations, and it changed to his name in 2015, David Geffen Hall. And I'm sure it cost a lot of money, right? I'd have to look up, let's see, like what, 100 million? He donated 100 million to the Lincoln Center in 2015. So we're talking a large chunk of money, 100 million. There was maybe more. I won't take the time to read it right now. But this is the thing, right? This is how they get away with shit, because people who don't look deeply enough will be like, oh yeah, but look at that. He like helped the New York Philharmonic renovate their hall and he paid $100 million. $100 million is fucking nothing of 10 billion, right? Like that's nothing for him. It doesn't matter. And I'm pretty sure that he sold at the time, I remember seeing his name in the news, a mansion that was like the most expensive mansion in the country. It was like to Bezos, right? Yeah, like $165 million.
Yep, yeah. It's at least the largest transaction in California real estate history.
Yeah. So this is the thing, right? And I mean that is just gross, right? The fact that there's a $165 million property that shouldn't exist, right? It's fucking disgusting when we have homeless people. It's just this country is a piece of shit, right? It's garbage. It's a hot fucking dumpster fire. Well, the whole world is, right? But we won't go into that. But this is the thing, right? So Geffen and people like him, Bill Gates, Warren Buffett, whoever, take your fucking pick. They hide behind these charitable endeavors, but they still have insane, untold amounts of money that no person could need in 1,000 lifetimes. So no, they're all pieces of shit. And especially somebody in his case taking advantage of musicians, because I mean that is the history of the music industry, right? And it even continues now. We don't need to go into the details of this right now, but you guys have probably seen that there's a lot of conversation happening about the streaming services now, right? For instance, the founder and CEO of Spotify is a billionaire. Paul McCartney just sold like the publishing rights to like his entire catalog, and it was like a couple $100 million. Bruce just did it too, didn't he?
Bruce was 500 million.
Right.
Yeah.
So think about this. Think about this. Two of the most important musicians in popular music history who created all of that stuff. They actually wrote the fucking music, right? They are actual creators. And that's like a fraction of what Daniel Ek, I think is his name. That's a fraction of what that guy is worth. Now, maybe that guy is a genius at technology. I don't know. But still, the principle of that, the principle that a founder of some technological thing that maybe is good at like taking advantage of loopholes can be worth so much and the actual creators get paid shit. I mean, it's insane. It's insane. So this whole idea of the artists versus the business side of things in like the music industry, I mean, that's been going on forever and is still going on now, even as sort of we have this paradigm shift from what music used to be like to this almost like all digital these days. But yeah, just
And it's the same. We're going to talk about it with baseball. It's the same thing. Players have been fighting forever to try to just get a little piece of the pie for the revenue that owners bring in every single year in that sport. And to top off the Geffen thing before we get away from that, because you brought up a really good point, Ethan. So like, yeah, he donated $100 million to that hall, but where did that $100 million come from? It came from screwing over bands and artists, and from his white privilege of just being able to forge his transaction, or whatever transcript,
right.
from college and everything. Like, that's dirty money. If it was a black person, he's going to jail. It's just crazy.
Yeah. Now I just have to point out here, and give me one more second.
I already rolled my eyes. People who are listening can't hear, but I already rolled my eyes.
Yeah, we should just add like we wire in a sound effects. So I need one more Google search first. Oh, okay, all right. So that's better. But Ethan just criticized one billionaire for taking advantage of another billionaire, and he's shedding some tears that poor little Paul McCartney got taken advantage of. You know what his net worth is, Ethan?
Is he a billionaire?
800 million pounds. You know what that is in U.S. real dollars?
I know you're going to tell me.
1.07 billion.
Okay, and would you like me to tell you what I think of Paul McCartney for being a billionaire? He's a piece of shit. There you go. Okay? Now, I wasn't crying for one billionaire take, and Geffen didn't do anything to McCartney. Geffen didn't take advantage of McCartney. The point is that McCartney is like probably maybe the most influential musician in American popular music history, and maybe just the Western world popular music history, right? Yeah. Maybe not, but he's in the conversation. And what he sold, all of this shit that he created, and it was a fraction of what somebody like David Geffen is worth. So I don't feel bad for Paul McCartney. It's just the principle of that. I'm just emphasizing the idea that you can just be like good at business and good at manipulating shit and good at taking advantage of loopholes, and you can be so much more rich than somebody like Paul McCartney, who is like a legit genius who has had an amazing impact on humankind. So, but thank you for pointing that out. I do take your point. I didn't know he was a billionaire. He should be giving away his fucking money.
Bruce is only an estimated 650 millionaire.
He should also be giving away his money. We won't get into this because it's not as catchy, but 100 millionaires, whatever the word is for once you hit 9 digits, they shouldn't exist either. Yeah. So
Sorry, you know me.
I know, of course,
I
yes, of
couldn't let
course.
that slide.
Uh-huh,
I was like, I'm pretty sure Paul is that rich. So.
uh-huh.
um,
All right. Well, I think that was a success. So
Mm-hmm.
we'll see what the audience thinks, and we'll see if we bring it back.
Yeah, absolutely.
What are you
So,
guys drinking?
oh yeah, let's do that. I've got another of the other half collection that Matt and I have been drinking the last couple weeks, various anniversary beers. Matt, I think this is the 6th anniversary, right?
yep, yep,
The recreation of the 6th anniversary.
yep.
A 10% IPA.
Again?
Again, so
Wow.
I'll probably be buzzed after the show
Oh, they're
again.
all 10. Yeah.
Yeah. Really nice.
Ethan,
This is yeah.
update. Ethan did send us a text after the show last week and said, haha, I'm buzzed.
Yeah, yeah, it did hit me after the show, and it'll probably happen this time too. But it's one of these ones, Matt, where some of these 10%ers, there's like that kind of sweetness to it. Is
Mm-hmm.
that's because of the higher ABV, right? Is that right?
Yeah.
Or
So you're putting a lot more fermentable sugars in there. You're supercharging the wort, and part of it is too. And the reason you see a lot of double IPAs that are in the 7 to 8 to 9% range, alcohol is a solvent. So the more alcohol you have in a beverage, the better job it'll do of getting those hop compounds out of the hops while you're brewing it. So,
okay. Yeah, really
I've got a
delicious stuff.
I got a follow-up question for the beer master. Ethan, hold that beer up to the camera. So, like Matt, you see the kind of
it's hazy.
It's not. Yeah, well, like I get like the color of the beer, right?
Yeah, looks like juice.
Yeah. Like I love beers like that. Is that like a certain like I don't think I would just looking at that glass, I don't think I would like that beer as much as the one Ethan has.
Well, because
I just find myself every time I go to a brewery and there's a beer that's poured that way, I take a sip and I'm like,
So
wow, that's
it's
really
the
good.
hazy thing then, right, Matt?
yeah,
Is that the
so
defining thing?
yeah, that's accomplished because double IPAs or like the hazy New England IPAs are um, massively hopped very very late in the brewing cycle. So and then you have double dry hop addition, so you're getting a lot of kind of extra particulate there. Now there's also theories that like some breweries tried replicating that by adding flour to their beers,
Oh wow.
which I've never actually confirmed it. I've heard other brewers accuse breweries of doing that, but essentially they're not filtering it either. So you'll a lot of these times if you're pouring out a beer like that, you'll get like schmutz in the bottom to quote
Schmutz.
Ethan. Schmutz. Okay, you get some schmutz in the bottom, which is like hot particulate that was in the beer that settled out while it sat in a can. So some breweries will even put on there like roll the beer on the countertop before you dump it out because they want to resuspend some of those hot particles. But yeah, that's part of the hazy craze.
Interesting. Okay.
Now mine is clear. It's still got a little bit of haze in it, but it's relatively clear because it's a West Coast IPA. It's one of the most famous out there. It's a double dry hop version of Pliny the Elder. So this is one of the two. It's every year considered the best or the second best beer in the country by beer nerds who are members of the American Homebrewers Association. So usually it's like Pliny the Elder and Bell's Too Hard. It actually is up there every year too as one of the best beers out there. Oh, every year, yeah.
That's interesting. I mean, I like that beer. I'm
Beer nerds
surprised
love
it
it.
would still be up there at this point.
Yep.
When you have like Treehouse and Other Half and Monkish and
Yeah, well, and that one's weird because it uses an older hop varietal. It uses Centennial, which is always weird, or Centennial or Cascade, one of those two old ones. But Pliny is really really famous because it's this West Coast IPAs aren't hazy; they're filtered, they're crisper. You still can get some nice fruit characteristics there, but
more bitter in general, right?
A little bit. You get more bitterness, more like a traditional IPA. You get you get some piney flavors, some earthy flavors, some grassy flavors. It's just more like a really, really well done traditional IPA. And again, you'll get really fruity West Coast IPAs as well, but it's not from these massive late additions of hops. It's more, they're added earlier in the brew cycle, so it's not quite as aromatic and fruit juicy as some of these New England style beers. But
No.
yeah, Pliny is by a brewery called Russian River, just north of San Francisco. Awesome place. It's definitely on. It's like on the bucket list for beer nerds in terms of getting out there. And I didn't get pizza when I was there. I should have got pizza. I didn't realize they're known for the pizza. I got a Caesar salad, but but I sat at their bar and tried a bunch of different other beers. They're known for their IPAs, but they also are known for a series of barrel aged sour and wild ales that are very, very, very highly regarded. So, if you ever find yourself in Santa Rosa, go to Russian River.
Now, after Colin tells us his beer, I have a question, another beer question.
Okay.
But Kyle, you go first.
I don't have beer tonight because
Oh.
I'm 99% sure I'm getting out to Raleigh tomorrow for that Eagles show.
Oh, nice.
So I have another even earlier morning tomorrow just because I'm trying to squeeze in a bunch of stuff and work and then I'm planning on driving back after the show too, so I won't get back until like 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock on.
Oh, wow. Okay.
That's like dumb
Thursday
shit that I would do,
morning.
Colin.
Yeah, that's like a mat day. Yeah.
It's only a 2 hour drive really. I mean, we used to do it all, like whenever we would see Springsteen in Albany, all those times we would go to the show and then drive back after. We'd never stay over in Albany.
Yeah, but you had people with you. This is going to be solo.
Yeah, a lot of times I did the drive though. The time we saw the Eagles in Buffalo, I drove the whole way back, even though it was a full car.
All right. Well, Ethan, what was the other question?
So the other question, and we mentioned this briefly. I can't remember, Matt, if this came up last weekend or last week on the show, or if it came up last weekend when I was there with you. But like the new movement in like the craft beer community is like lagers and pilsners, right? Like the basic fucking classic
Really?
beers.
Beer flavored beer.
Right.
Really?
Like just regular old beer. Now, and it was funny because we talked about it, and then I saw like some article from, I can't remember, but some like big, newspaper or some shit on my feed talking about it, and I didn't read the whole thing. But I was like, oh, that's funny. We had just been talking about it. And so I just wanted you to tell the good listeners about this a little bit. And me and Colin.
So I've heard it described as palate fatigue. I've heard it described as back to roots, and there's also a lot of brewers that are really putting a lot of focus on pilsners and lagers and your kind of traditional styles. But I mean, we've had years of double super chocolate cake, pretzel, ice cream, maple sugar, cinnamon toast crunch beer. And that can be a stout or it can be a sour in quotes,
Right.
because it's like
Juice.
not really sour. They just kind of load it up with juice. And those are good beers, but I mean, it's one of those, I think we talked about it, Ethan, like you have 4 ounces of it and you're kind of done.
Yeah.
People used to refer to like lager, like light crisp lagers, like just pick like one of the ones we had at Human Robot last week, like a lawnmower beer is something you just drink on a hot day. But it's coming back is like if it's well done, if it's true to the style. There is a lot of different kind of options to explore out there. It is becoming kind of the next niche that neckbeards, which is a kind of a let's say a derogatory term for fat guys like me who like craft beer.
Neckbeards, yep.
Neckbeards, yeah. It hides the double chin. That's kind of the new thing that neckbeards are flocking to right now. And that also could be a very pretentious within the craft beer community. It could be a pretentious reaction to another phenomenon, which is called haze bros, which are the influx of people who are, new to the craft beer scene who like hazy IPAs only.
Right, and they think they know everything, but they only like hazy IPAs.
Not even that. They're just enthusiastic about hazy beers, and that's all they care about. And again, the neckbeards poo-poo them and go, oh, did you ever drink a barley wine? Like, oh, I had a Adam beer from Hair of the Dog in Portland. Do you even know who that is?
That's pretty funny.
R.I.P. Hair of the Dog. They're closing down. The owner decided not to sell his IP or property or recipes, which is good for him. Sad to see him go, though. R.I.P. But
Funny. And this is, Matt, an example of this would be maybe not quite as famous, but the Suarez ones that we had a while back, right?
yeah,
That's
yeah,
like, yeah.
very well known in craft beer circles, and Human Robots getting there too.
Okay.
I mean, I think Suarez actually kind of makes fun of it. They sell T-shirts that are just like, "That's it," like, or like better than I expected. Because they're putting an incredible amount of focus and science and attention to traditional recipes, to very, very, very high quality ingredients, and going back to traditional recipe and brewing techniques from hundreds of years ago. So there's a new brewery in Philadelphia, which I haven't tried their stuff yet, called Trauger Brewing, which is only brewing German beers with only German sourced raw materials, and he's trying to follow all of these old recipe traditions. And I'm excited. There's a lot of hype around this guy in the neckbeard community.
Yeah.
Nice.
So this is all super interesting to me and pretty cool, and it doesn't surprise me at all. There's actually an analogous phenomenon in the classical music world, which is to say that in the early 1900s, classical music, especially around 1908, 1910, started to get like crazy out there, really, really atonal, which atonal, for those who don't know, means that there's no home note. You couldn't sing along to it. To most people, it would sound like a bunch of random notes, right? Think avant-garde type art, okay? Avant-garde music, just like really, really dissonant, really complex. And things had been developing and increasing in complexity and dissonance for a couple hundred years by this point, right? And I think it's a similar thing. It was like palate fatigue, right? Except for just for your ears. And so what started happening around like the 1920s, 1930s, maybe even a little bit earlier, maybe in the 1910s, was a movement called neoclassicism, where literally you had composers going back to like the 1600s and the 1700s and taking those kinds of styles and those kinds of melodies and sort of filtering it through their voice, through their idea. And obviously, this all happened, 100 years ago. But it seems to not be that surprising to me. I guess it seems like a natural part of the evolution of things.
Yeah.
So pretty cool. And for those who are interested, I'm happy to deliver a lecture on neoclassicism on a future episode. So
One more thing,
people banging down the door.
They'll be banging down the door.
I'll take Colin's time because he doesn't have beer, and say my cheese-filled pasta of the week.
Yeah, I was going to ask. So go ahead.
Cavatappi, which is technically, let me get out there.
I think it's cavatappi.
Cavatappi?
I'm kidding. That's obviously wrong.
Technically, it's not cheese-filled, but it was in the section of the store that was with the cheese-filled pastas because it's got ricotta in the pasta dough.
Oh, that's pretty cool. Matt, are you going to actually try to do this like every podcast episode? Try to have like a cheese pasta dish?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you are? All right, sweet. I like it. That's good.
I mean, just to tip my cards, excuse me while I chew.
He's chewing, everybody. Just give it a second. I
don't know if you guys caught that audio or not.
No, it didn't come in.
Oh, darn. Okay. And I may not have enough. Like, I'm going to make homemade stuffed shells because I'm team stuffed shells one of these weeks. But, like, one of these weeks, maybe next week, it'll be... like the leftover 5 tortellini plus the leftover like 10 ravioli plus the leftover cavatappi that I'll just cook all together at once.
Yeah.
And I'll have a cheese pasta plate.
Nice.
Maybe I'll even branch out to lasagna, even though it's not cheese filled. It's cheese layered. It's cheese filled adjacent. I don't have any manicotti left or monocoque or whatever.
Yeah. What was Greg saying? He was very offended.
Yeah, manicotti.
Yeah.
Monaco or something like that.
I don't have any of that left. I ate them all. But we'll keep this going as long as I can.
Nice. I love
it. What's threatening things now is I used my last container of homemade pasta sauce, so I've got to make some more this upcoming week.
Well, get into it, Matt.
Yeah.
Yep.
Mama Ruth's secret recipe.
Excellent.
But yeah.
Sweet. All right. What else we got on the docket there, boss?
Billionaires?
I think we can nightcap it with
oh no.
Man Clown.
Yeah.
I mean, I really kind of hope Bryce plays in Japan. I really do.
Yeah. Man Clown is Rob Manfred, the commissioner of baseball, for listeners out there who didn't know that. And so let's give everybody the update. So we
Well,
just found out.
let's wait before we give the update.
Yeah.
Let's just backtrack. We've talked very little baseball over the last 3 months now, basically.
Yeah, pretty much.
It's been 3 months of
Yeah.
lockout.
Yeah, we haven't really been talking much about it at all.
And yeah, we just haven't talked about it, mainly because there hasn't been much to talk about. But
Colin's
also,
depressed.
yeah, it's very depressing.
Yeah.
Especially as it continues to drag on. And Ethan's about to provide the latest update, which again, this is Tuesday, March 1st. Not a
Happy
good day
Fat
for
Tuesday.
baseball. Yeah, happy Fat Tuesday for sure.
I don't know what that is. That's some goy thing, right? That's some goy bullshit.
Go down to New Orleans and figure it out.
It's not goy bullshit. I was thinking of some goy stuff.
It's
Goy
Mardi
is
Gras.
it's Mardi Gras. I was thinking it had to do with Easter. What's the Easter shit? Like
Well,
Ash.
it's
is
the
Ash...
start of tomorrow.
Ash
Was Ash
Wednesday's
Wednesday.
tomorrow.
6 days. Tomorrow's
Yep,
the start of
Lent.
Lent.
Okay. All right.
Yep.
All right. So, anyways, sorry, Kyle. I interrupted you.
No, I was giving it back to you to give the update.
Okay. So
I just wanted people to know why we haven't talked about baseball.
Oh, right, yeah. So you guys got to clarify because I don't know all the details, but essentially, the owners and the players' union have been quote unquote negotiating for a while now, and they set themselves a deadline. I think for yesterday, didn't they? That if they didn't have an agreement.
Well, when you say they, you mean the owners.
Did the owners set that? They set the
Yes.
deadline themselves. Okay, I couldn't remember. So.
Just like the owners are the ones who initiated this lockout.
Yeah, they're the ones who locked out the players on what, December 1st, right? They're the ones who started the whole thing. They're the ones who came up with this deadline.
To preserve the 2022 season.
And shocker, shock of all shocks, they have not come to an agreement. And I think it just came out today, didn't it? That officially opening day is canceled.
The first two series.
First two series, totally. Okay, I knew opening day. I didn't see the details beyond that. This is the first time that we are going to miss games for non-COVID since 1994? 95. The beginning of 1995, right?
Yep. There was a lockout after the strike.
Yeah, and as far as I'm concerned, this is devastating. It's the height of stupidity on the owner's part, not on the players' union, which we can talk more about that. But you're already talking about a sport that is struggling to attract young fans and I would say probably struggling to retain its current fans because of the nature of the game, which we have talked about a lot, and I'm sure we'll talk about a lot more, which is to say that it's gotten really, really slow and boring, and it was already slow and boring by many people's standards. And so to then allow a labor dispute, when we're talking about everybody in this scenario is insanely rich, and we're talking about just how the pie is split up, right? And that's all we're talking about. There's nothing else here. There's not like some high-minded principle. There's not some big difference in morality or anything like this. It's just a matter of how we split up the pie. And to have this happen, to lose time from the season when things are already rough, it's just mind-boggling to me and really, really depressing. And I have very little hope about anything at this point. I mean, I'm sure they'll eventually come to a deal and we'll get some sort of baseball. How much of a season we get, who fucking knows at this point? I don't know what you guys are thinking about this, but
I want to highlight a couple things. When we talk about the gap between what owners make and what players make, and so let's be clear, players are the product. Like that is like a key difference between like what an average American, for example, works in a company and has a product. You are not the product. But in baseball, players are
the actual product. Yep.
Are the actual product. And the discrepancy is huge. And the players aren't asking to be billionaires. They are asking for their younger players to get paid more. They are asking for a more competitive environment. And that is where the key thing comes in for me, is that if you really want to let your anger out on certain owners or certain fan bases, circle these ones on your bingo card. The Pittsburgh Pirates, the Baltimore Orioles, the Cleveland Guardians, the Miami Marlins, the Oakland Athletics, the Colorado Rockies, the Detroit Tigers, the Kansas City Royals, the Minnesota Twins, and the Arizona Diamondbacks. That is 8 owners, 8 teams, 8 cities, 8 markets that could care less about baseball, their fans, their cities, winning ball games, all of that type of stuff. And the reason this is known is because these 8 clubs are the ones who are holding hostage the negotiations right now. That is where there is a big holdup within the owner side. So like, yes, there is a clear, there's a lot of bad things between owners and players, and like it's taken a lot of work to get them two together. But there's also owners within owners, big market, small market, middle market, whatever it is. That's always been a problem as well. But right now it's really making it difficult. And the reason that 8 is also important, and this is what I read in some of my research before today, it takes 8 owners to veto any agreement. And they keep being the 8 that keep popping up every single time that, like, I'm sure Hal Steinbrenner wants to, do something more, or any of the other big market teams, etc.
Now, Kyle, do you have the information on you? If not, I'll try to look it up quick. These 8 teams we're talking about, their owners, I mean, we can safely assume that they are all like legitimate billionaires, right? Like all of these owners,
I'm gonna assume, yeah,
they're not hurting in terms of their wealth. I'm gonna look up a couple real quick while you keep going.
Yeah. I mean, there's not too much more to it, and some of these teams shouldn't surprise you because we went on a very long rant, probably like 4 or 5 months ago, about the Baltimore Orioles and how it's really sad that their franchise in our lifetime has never truly been competitive. They are not a small market.
Hey, 95, 96.
Yeah, okay, like 2 years and 32
They made the
years.
playoffs.
Yeah,
but they've never been truly competitive. And like they're a really classic example of, Matt looked up that one stat of what did they didn't have, like, their payroll was nothing this past season.
Right, that's right.
It was disgusting. Yeah. And that's a stat that's gotten thrown out a lot this year, is that the average payroll in Major League Baseball in 2001 is lower than it was in 2015 when the past CBA that just expired first started.
Yeah.
Players
for 4 straight years, money. The average player salary has gone down. That is the big sticking point.
Right. And actually, okay, so hold on real quick. Let me pause because we're talking about Cleveland right now, right?
No, we're talking about Baltimore.
Baltimore. Sorry.
Cleveland's on this list.
Let me talk about Cleveland real quick because I happened to look up Cleveland first. So Larry Dolan is the owner. And the owners, the Dolan family, this article came out in January, just at the beginning of the year, 2022. As of the beginning of the year, the Dolan family is worth $4.6 billion, which is the 6th highest in baseball, ahead of the Cubs and, get this, ahead of the Yankees. The Dolan family is richer than the Steinbrenner family, okay? Now, I don't know how much money Larry Dolan controls out of the entire Dolan family, but point is, dude's got plenty of money. Cleveland has no excuse. When we were looking at, because we've looked at Cleveland's payroll too, right? And Cleveland's payroll has been pretty fucking low. Yeah. They got no excuse. They got no excuse to not be spending money. And I'll look up the Orioles owner here in a second. But how about that? 6th highest, that family. That's fucking insane. And this is current number. I mean, this is a couple months ago. So this is not like from a few years ago. Yeah. So you figure it's probably close to, even though billionaire wealth fluctuates, like it's still got to be right around there. So,
well, so this is pre-Dolan era, but what kills me is Cleveland was a rabid baseball town.
Yeah.
Until Boston. So think about this. After the Browns left, the city rallied around that team. So after the Browns left, they sold out something ridiculous, like 430 straight home games. Sellouts.
Yeah.
So it's not like this team, and the team was good back then. It was really, really good. Probably one of the best teams to never win a championship. If you look at top to bottom, that team.
Yeah, we're talking about like the mid-90s.
Mid-90s Indians were just insanely
Yeah, they
good.
were insane. Yeah.
But I mean, they had an owner that was investing. They had fans that were engaged, and to remember back as a Yankees fan watching those games, to look at videos of that, the Jacobs Field packed, and then to see it now, and to see the Dolans, both the spoiler alert, the past two stadium renovations they've done, which they've pushed on, a lot of the cost on the Gateway District, which is part of Cleveland. They've reduced the seats in there. So they went from selling out this 45,000 seat stadium for 400 plus straight games to now that I think the capacity is 38,000, because they've just taken out whole sections, because there is, they've ruined the baseball enthusiasm of that city. Aside from a couple blips in the radar where they were able to make it to the World Series and all, it's been horrendous.
It's been mediocrity, right?
It's not good for the game that as a college student or as a young professional, the day of the game I could log on and find $11 seats. It was great as a fan who wanted to go catch a random game, but for the whole game of baseball. Now I don't want tickets to get too expensive either, but I mean that's like a quarter of face price there. That's bad.
Yeah. And by the way, I just double checked on Baltimore. Peter Angelos, their owner, is worth about $2 billion. Yeah. And it's not like the other thing too. And correct me if I'm wrong here, Kyle. I think you know the most about this, but the owners aren't paying the salaries like straight out of their net worth, right? I mean, a team's operating budget is not just the owner's net worth, right? I mean, there's more at play. There's the revenue. There's and it's like a lot of these guys are the principal owners as part of an ownership group. Like there's more than just one guy's net worth, right?
Yep. Absolutely.
Now it is to counterpoint. It is not unheard of if a owner is going after it to invest more of his own money in salaries.
Great.
To try and put his team over the top.
Sure.
Yeah.
And there are documented instances of say teams having a negative, losing money for a year because they had so much invested in payroll. That has happened. What I will say though is it doesn't happen a lot. It happens very, very, very rarely.
Yeah.
And you'll see, owners will very quickly shed salary before they'll take a losing or a negative year, a year in the red with their team. Go ahead, Ethan.
I just want to, I want to circle back and bring this full circle here to how we got here, right? So what's happening with the whole talks and the lockout and everything? Like I was saying before, all that's happening is the ownerships and the players union fighting over the pie and who gets what pieces of the pie and how much of the pie, right? Now, I'm not same as what we were talking about before with like McCartney versus Geffen. I am not shedding a tear for the players, right? Even league minimum players are making like $600,000 a year. Okay, I'm not shedding a tear. They're all crazy rich by normal people's standards. However, the owners are several leagues above, right? They're several orders of magnitude above when you're a billionaire. Okay, period. I don't care if you're who's got the highest annual value right now. Is it Scherzer, Trouty, whoever it is? The people who have like the highest annual pay right now, the players, it's like 35-40 million, right? It's right around there, the highest annual value deals. So that's a lot, right? I'm not shedding a tear for them, but it's the principle, right? It's all about greed. These billionaires are already fucking billionaires, right? The owners, and they are trying to prevent the players from getting more of the pie. And I mean, it's just insane. Like, and especially when we talk about the young players, because what's crazy now in baseball, and this is, I think, a really important point, and we've talked about this before. It used to be, prior to analytics being as good as they are now, it used to be that young players would come up, they'd be amazing in their 20s, they wouldn't be eligible for free agency until later, in their late 20s or like age 30 or whatever. Then they'd be free agents, and then they'd get their payday. They'd get a massive contract. Now, analytics is really good, and we know that pretty much nobody maintains even anywhere close to their ability level after age 30. So those contracts aren't happening anymore for the most part, right? Owners and teams are much less likely to give those out. And so now what you have happening is you have all of these like hot shots. Think of like Juan Soto or whatever. You have these amazing talents coming up who are having incredible years. They're in their prime, they're in their 20s, they're in their mid-20s, and they are making a fraction of what they would be worth on the market. And by the time they're free agents, depending on how much the team manipulated their playing time, by the time they're free agents, they're not going to get that huge payday that they would have previously gotten, right? And so that's a big problem here too.
I'd like to coin this the Pujols effect.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, he is like the poster boy, right? I mean,
Yeah.
you can't find a better example than that.
30 million in his age 40 season, and I was like, ooh.
Yeah, and he's been like below replacement level for like several years at this point, or pretty much close to it. And so that's one of the big sticking points, right? One of the things that the players union wants is the young players having the ability to enter arbitration earlier. Is that one of the points, right?
Yep.
To be able to get paid better earlier, because and even that is not ideal. Because they're still not. Think about somebody like Mike Trout, who as a 20-year-old had one of the greatest seasons in history and has been amazing every full season he's ever had. He didn't make close to what his market value would have been, you know? And so the teams they're fleecing the players in this sense, right? With these young superstars. And so this idea that the billionaires are so greedy to keep their bit of the pie rather than pay these players. I mean, it's fucking horrendous. Yeah, it's inexcusable.
Point of information: there are 6 MLB owners that are not billionaires.
Okay, this is good to know. Who are they? Do you
Brewers,
have the list? Yeah, okay.
Diamondbacks, Marlins, Reds, Rays, and Rockies.
Does it say what their net worth is?
The lowest is the Reds at 400 million, and then that's all the way up to 800 million for the owner of the Rays. So
very interesting.
Only 400 to 800 million.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Yeah. I got a couple things I'll end with. One, anyone who thinks that higher payrolls means higher ticket prices, you're fucking stupid.
Yep. That's a good
The
one.
Yankees payroll was much higher in 2005 than it is right now, and the ticket prices were much lower than they are right now for games. Okay, so that's my first thing. Yes. My second thing is like, I really don't know where this goes. Like I know, so like history lesson, 1994, the players struck in August of that year because they thought they could.
Struck.
I think it would be struck, wouldn't it? I don't think
struck.
strike.
Yeah, I think it's right.
Yeah, not like hanged.
So they struck in August of 94 because they thought they could put enough pressure on the owners to get a deal done and still resume the season and have the playoffs and everything. The owners said no. They were tired of losing. They had gotten beat like 7-8 times in a row, starting with Marvin Miller, who's now in the Hall of Fame. And so they wipe out the season. That was a miscalculation by the players. Now, when the season ends, if there is going to continue to be no baseball activity, that has to be caused by the owners. They have to lock out the players. Like the players aren't just going to strike and not try to get money, and things like that. They want to play. They just want to play, in a fair environment. And so the owners locked out the players leading up to that 1995 season. And then they tried to have replacement players. We weren't really old enough to, know this was happening because we were 6 years old when this was all going on. They tried to have replacement players. Fans were finally like, you know what? We're done. We're walking away. Like, this is what's pushing us away. Like, not so much the cancellation of the 94 World Series and, the whole season and everything like that. But the fact that the owners were like, yeah, we're just going to throw out replacement players and hope that you guys are okay with that. Like, the fans were like, no. And so the owners finally caved. The players got their deal and everything was good up until 2015. When there started to be, some friction again. They got the CBA done. Now we've been in this lockout since December, and I just do not know what the end game is for the owners. Like, will they cancel the whole season? It's obviously not unheard of. The NHL did it in 2005 or whatever.
2003. I think it was the 03-04 season, I think.
Yeah. So it's not unheard of. I would be beyond devastated if it did.
Yeah.
But I don't know how you get those people who are so far away from what the players want. I don't know how you make up that ground at this point. Like, it hasn't happened in 3 months. It hasn't happened with their arbitrary deadlines. they are the ones locking out the players, yet it's the players and the fans who are suffering. And I just don't know how this ends in a happy way. I really don't.
Please, God, don't cancel the season.
Yeah, right.
Welcome to Two Jocks, One Schlub, your premier beer, nonsense, and F1 racing and PGA golf podcast. Hey.
Yeah, oh my God. Ugh. Oh, and I just double checked. The NHL lockout was 2004, 2005.
Okay.
The 04-05 season. But
So it's interesting to hear some of the stuff they've talked about. Have you guys seen some of the proposals? So you can see kind of the players' goals there. They're trying to force competitiveness. They want to eliminate the tanking.
Yeah.
So there's been
like
talk
a lottery
of,
for the amateur draft.
Yeah, there's the lottery. There's been talk of, you guys hear the ghost game proposal that came out today?
Oh, I didn't hear this.
Essentially, if they want to incentivize teams that win the division. So I don't want to see this happen, but so say the Yankees win the division and their wild card challenger is the Orioles, because we're going to just go into la la land here. The Yankees would only have to win 2 of 3 games, like 2 games, and the Orioles would have to win 3, and they would all be played in Yankee Stadium. That was the proposal. So the Yankees essentially start up with a ghost win. They're up 1-0 before the series even starts.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they want to incentivize those who, battle to the end of the season and really win the division.
Don't we already have that with the extra wild card game?
Well, but that's against each other. After the wild card game's over, it's still a best of 5 series.
Right.
Yeah. This would be the expanded playoffs. So I think it would wipe out the wild card game, and it would just be, there would be this best of 3 series before the division series, and then there would be the championship series, and then the World Series, I think.
Yeah, but they were also talking about just a series where the division winner would only have to win 2 games, and the wild card winner would have to win 3.
Right. That's what I'm saying. That's the first round, whatever they're going to call it. It wipes out the wild card game. And it says, okay, we're having a legitimate series, a 3-game series, and everything you just walked us through, Matt. And then whoever wins that goes to the division series, just like it has been through the wild card era.
So the other proposal I heard, you guys hear they're talking about an international draft, which I think that's a response to the Yankees these past 2 years, going out there and plopping a boatload of money on the number 1 rated draft prospect internationally.
Yeah, well,
because the way that it is with teams tanking, the Yankees are essentially locked out of top draft picks in the amateur draft. So I don't blame the Yankees for doing that, but it sounds like some of the other owners are not happy about that. So the amateur draft.
I wonder which owners those are.
Oh,
yeah, right. But I thought there was something in place with the international pool, some sort of like tax or cap or something.
You have a certain amount of money you can spend.
Yeah.
But you can also trade for additional money. So
but
I believe that was actually part of the Voit trade, right? We actually got bonus pool money from the Cardinals along with Voit.
Okay.
Yeah. You can accumulate as much international money as you want, but you can only spend a certain amount. That is a hard cap. There is a hard cap on that.
So the Yankees are choosing to spend like most of their international pool money to get like that top prospect.
Whereas all teams aren't.
Other teams could do that if they wanted to.
I know.
Right? Am I right? Okay. I'm just making sure I'm understanding this correctly.
Yep.
Yeah.
So those are some of the ones I've heard. Obviously there's been a million different proposals about limiting getting to arbitration sooner, getting rid of compensation picks, trying to get a bonus pool of money for people who are in arbitration to, reward those who perform well, so they have built-in bonuses out there. That all just to me sounds, I don't know how much the players are going to be, up for that, because it still is retaining control for the owners over these younger players. And I haven't heard, and guys, if you have, please speak up, but I haven't heard anything that addresses service time manipulation either, which
that's like the big thing, right? I mean, one of the big things. Like that's what I would like to
see that go.
Yeah, it's fucking bullshit.
I think the players gave that up, to be honest.
Damn it.
Yeah. But again, Matt, you just my point again. how does this end in a happy way for the players and the fans? I don't see it.
Maybe Tony Clark shouldn't shave his beard until the negotiations are over. Maybe he'll come out looking like ZZ Top in a couple months or something.
I mean,
The only thing we can hope is that the presser today, Manfred was laughing, like after he announced the cancellation of the first 2 series, and
wait,
it's like
he actually
obviously
laughed.
laughing, just like smiles, and like obviously that has made the rounds already, and players are not happy. Like
Good.
all we can hope, I think, like realistically, I just don't see the CBA winning, like being a winning CBA for the players. But what we can almost hope is like Manfred being a little bit too cavalier
Yeah,
with
glib.
his,
Not
with
to
his,
mention insultingly fucking condescending, which is what we talked about last time, I think.
yeah,
or time before.
that will ultimately like force the owners to say like, all right, well, we have to cut ties with him. We got to bring in someone else.
Yeah.
I can't imagine it's going to be anyone who's like amazingly better, but the bar's been set pretty low by Man Clown.
Man Clown could be terrible, but as long as he keeps the owners flush and cash.
Well, that's the thing. Yeah, the owners, they just want a friendly commissioner to them, right? So they'll probably keep Manfred.
Yeah, but I'm saying like if just like it was with those replacement players and like the goofy stuff they tried in 95, like if fans actually stop showing up and like stop supporting, like then they'll feel pressure to like say, all right, let's make a change, you know, something like that.
And I will say
do you think the average baseball fan knows the name Rob Manfred?
Probably not the average fan.
So anyway, Ethan,
I was gonna say my one sliver of hope is that wealth consciousness, thanks to the internet, is infinitely better now than it was, say, in 1995, let alone before. Now, I'm not saying everybody feels the way that I do. I don't know that everybody is gonna. What did I say? Fuck all billionaires. Period. I don't know if everybody's gonna say that, but I think that wealth consciousness is much better than it used to be, and so the owners' efforts to demonize the players, I don't think will be as effective as they were in the past. I think that people are going to be much more cognizant of the fact that the owners are at an extreme advantage, and they always have been, and that we should not sympathize with them at all, ever. Now, I think there are still plenty of bootlickers out there who don't really think at all, who don't have critical thinking, who don't pay attention, who are going to be like, oh, those players are spoiled, they need to shut up and play. There's going to be some of those people. But I think as a general rule, more people now than in the past are aware of the gulf in wealth and how billionaires are like, it's insane that they're being greedy in this way, that we need to be siding. Matt put up a really creepy cartoon of Mark Zuckerberg, right? That was Zuckerberg, right? Yeah. That's my one sliver of hope, and that hopefully there will be enough of evidence of that online that the owners will realize, and they'll realize. So what I think then, I hope that the players do not give an inch. I think that if they wait it out, I think they have the upper hand, because I think people realize that we need to be sympathizing with them, not with the owners. I think that's way more than it used to be. I don't know.
So not to kill your hope there.
Kill it. That's fine.
But I feel like I've come over to your side, Ethan, where I'm like, the players, because I do believe the same thing about the players, that they shouldn't move, and I believe the players believe that they shouldn't move, that we're headed for some like real bad stuff, because I don't think the owners care. Like, I don't think
they're
they
care
care
be super
that
rich
people know, like all this information and understand it better and everything. Like, I just really don't think they care. And
yeah, you're probably right.
They just want to win. That's it.
Yeah.
And now for a new announcement, join us for our new segment next week, the intricacies of F1 racing.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
I love producer Matt.
Yeah. Oh my God.
All right, boys. Well, we got the anger out. I'm sure we got more coming.
Oh, there'll
next
be
week will be the sadness.
Yeah, probably.
But I hope, seriously, I wanted to say, I listened last week. It's obviously been from a non-sports perspective. There's COVID, now there's war. things in the world. And it was 39 minutes of laughs that I got last week. And if anyone is listening, just to, get a distraction, even if it's a brief one, like we're just three guys that talk shit and probably don't know as much as we think we do, but if we can provide a little bit of laughter and whatnot, like that feels pretty cool to be able to do for people. At the very least, it'll provide a distraction for me because I'll listen to this again on Friday. So
I mean, I think that's probably the smartest thing that's been said on the show since we started. So yeah, thank you to everyone who's listening. Hope we're a good distraction. If you're listening, let us know. We can get you on the show. We can mix things up. We haven't had a guest in a while. Let me send you a mug. But
we had a guest 2 weeks ago, but that was a long time.
Greg's been in the works for a long time. I gotta get him his mug. Shit.
Yeah, you do. Chop chop.
All right, boys.
Really quickly, I just remembered while I'm thinking of it. Somebody had asked a long time ago about the clock that's in the background above my shoulder. It's a tea kettle. So there you go. Goodbye.